Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We are your award-winning Tottenham Hotspur podcast, and we return for, of course, reviewing our final game of this season. Look, Tottenham Hotspur beating Sheffield United on the final day by 3-0, of course, at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's the Spurs return to European football. They will be playing the Europa League next season. Thank God it wasn't the conference, or you might not have seen this esteemed panel for it, as Lee McQueen was never going to pull out of a Europa Conference League game. You can bet your life on that. And Crackers would be here. Don't you worry about it. And Patty will be showing up too. Listen, if you are with us for the first time, you can find us on iTunes. We're on Spotify. We're across all major audio platforms. We're, of course, on X. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook too. To many of you, you call this the A-Team. I'm joined by the conductor, the instructor, the runner of this crazy train. Lee McQueen is in the house, as is Richard Cracknell and Chatty Patty over there. Boys, before we get into anything football, how relieved are we? Bit of a break away. I say bit of a break. We know we'll still be doing some stuff. But Lee, we'll come to you very quickly. Happy the season's come to a close? Has it come at the right time, do you think, for us all to refresh, re-energise and go again?
No, at all. I was gutted, actually. We're just getting a bit of form back. You see a bit of Madders. Seriously, Madders is coming back to a bit of form. Benton Kerr's getting his fitness. They're all going to now bug off to the Copa America and the Euros now and all that stuff, and probably get injured again for their country. So, yeah, it's a bit of a shame. But we've still got the Australia trip to look forward to as well versus Newcastle. Look, I'm slightly tongue-in-cheek, but I'm a bit bemiffed, right? We've had 41 games in League and Cup this year, and people can't wait until the season's over, just because we've gone through a little tough, tricky period. And it does annoy me, and you know I speak about this with you privately anyway, Rick. So it just does annoy me. At the end of the day, we're building something here. The more football we can play, the quicker we're going to build it. I get that some fans are a bit like, oh, but I go to stadium every week, every home game, and it's a lot more enjoyable this season than when it was last season. And I think people have got short memories if they think it isn't, because it damn well is. Because there's no way I was taking my 71-year-old mother doing Free From Desire last season. But I did that this season, and it was absolutely epic.
Listen, with an intro like that, I don't know where we go from there. How can I ever now try and do a negative slant on this show when Mac has opened up like that? Let's come around to one man who's been fairly quiet recently.
You'll find it, mate. You'll find a way, I'm sure.
We've grabbed him back for, obviously, this final game of the season to review. Cracks is back. Bless him. He's been in and around everything so far the last few days. He was Gaza, obviously, the other night, and he's back on here. What a drop down that is. I don't think anyone's ever seen a drop-off like that in terms of an invitation. I'll let Cracks be the judge on that. How are you, Cracks? You okay? Love to be back on.
Very well, thanks, Ricky. Evening, Lee, Pat, and everybody else joining us on YouTube or on the pod later stage. And last time I was with you, I was stuck in a toilet in Lanzarote, in a bar in Lanzarote, probably about 8 pints deep, getting all emotional over Ange. But I've had some time to reflect and reset, because my social media the next 2 days, honestly, you needed a shower after reading the comments, because I did go in a little bit. So, but I'm a little more rounded and holistic and pragmatic now. So, look, Rick, before we get started, I just want to say another unbelievable season for Last Word on Spurs, with the amount of output that you put in and the work that you put in, and the guests and the people that listen and comment and get involved. So look, a huge well done to you, a huge well done to everybody that gets involved. Over this season, I've probably done 15 Legends Nights, and every one of them, from Land's End to John O'Groats, people come up to me and just say, love the pod, really enjoy the pod's great, the pod's this, the pod's that. People that really, really enjoy the pod. And it's, and that's a testament to you, Rick, and all the hard work you put in, and all the guys and gals that get involved in guesting, and as I say, the listeners as well, listeners and viewers, and their interaction. And it's just been unbelievable. So whatever goes on within the football and the results, that is absolutely that's Champions League stuff. You know, it's great content, it's great involvement, and there's so much love out there. So look, well done for reaching the end of another season. So we still got this show to mess it up. Don't forget.
Absolutely. Bless you. Listen, I mean, I always say it's another year where divorce hasn't hit us, and I'm not sure how that is the case. But you know what? It's the nature of these shows, and I've got to say, as much as cracks I take so much praise, and I can't thank you enough, mate. I always will push it back and say it's about the team. Without you guys that come and do this with us on a week-to-week basis, these shows don't happen. So again, I will echo this throughout this show and more. A massive thank you to every single person that has contributed, listened, watched, and been a part of Last Word on Spurs, because you are what makes this show possible. Please don't take that away. You are what makes this show possible. You know, I can turn up, but I still need the wonderful panel that come along and make these shows what they are every single week, twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week. Who knows what we've got to come. So thank you so much. And look, bringing in part of what I know many call the A-team. Listen, it's a second season in a row. He's made it through. It's the wonderful Chatty Pat. He's back, Pat.
Yeah,
no,
I'm
man.
good. I'm good, man. I'm good. Great to be back. Lee, Crackers, obviously Ricky as well, and everyone tuning in. I hope you're all well. If you're catching this tomorrow, good morning. Catching the afternoon, good afternoon, and all of that good stuff. And another season's done. Another season in the can. It ended well. Obviously, there's been turbulent times. There's been testing times. There's been trying times. There's been times where we've had civil wars and infighting between fans. But at the end of the day, we got there. It's a decentish season. I'm pleased of where we finished and how it's transpired. Obviously, there has been some rocky moments, but a solid first season. And I'm excited to chop it up and talk about today's game and where we stand and how we feel and all of that. So, yeah, without much further ado, let's get going.
Let's go in, most certainly. Let us say Spurs, they do finish the season. The 2023-24 Premier League season in 5th place. They do secure a return to European football, which has been an absolutely crazy, hectic last day of course, this Premier League season for Spurs, which, as for those that are watching this right now, they can see the way in which that league has ended. I think for many of us, there's a relief as to who is top. We won't go into that too much on the back of the last week that we've had. And I think, look, for many out there that, again, watch, listen, and see Last Word on Spurs, you know, it's a show in which I think very much embodies, we'd like to think, the fans on the terrace. It's, again, been an incredible Premier League season, full of ups, full of downs, rocky highs and lows that you would expect. And the final day, again, threw it up for many out there. Like I say, crazy final day. So many goals. I believe the most goals scored in a Premier League season. Once again, it does see Spurs back in European football. It is the Europa League. Again, that will again cast different feelings. There'll be some that are happy to see Spurs back in Europe. There'll be some that would like to have seen Spurs play at the very, very top table. And given the nature of Aston Villa's thrashing, of course, on the final day, many would feel Spurs weren't that far off. And again, when you compare Spurs and Villa over the course of the couple of games, I'm sure many will feel Spurs most certainly were the better team, had the better squad, but Villa were just that touch more consistent on essentially the games that they had in relation to Tottenham. But before we get into the game, very quickly, look, many of you have been asking if we're going to be doing an end of season show. Well, look, we are pleased to announce an end of season special for you out there. So Last Word on Spurs will proudly be bringing you a end of season special at the Bricklayers Pub. It is on Sunday, the 2nd of June. It's scheduled from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. where we'll be doing a bit of a game special. So look, you'll be seeing some of your favourite Last Word on Spurs panelists like never before. It won't be talking about Tottenham, or it will be to some degree, talking about actual general game to game. It'll be fun, games and laughter. So look, right now you can secure your seat if you would like to join us for this very, very special event that we're going to be holding at the Bricklayers, Sunday the 2nd of June. And you can do this by 2 ways. You can either drop a WhatsApp or a text to 07398 990747. This will apply to obviously people based in the UK, 07398 990747, where you can secure your spot right now. Please just text or call the number with the people you'd like to invite, just so we have an idea of numbers for the event itself. And you can also email us at our email address of lastwordonspurs@outlook.com. That's lastwordonspurs@outlook.com. And we look forward to seeing you guys in a couple of weeks' time. And for us, look, it's a great opportunity to see some of you wonderful people that listen and watch this show on a week-to-week basis. It's a chance for us guys to get together because, believe it or not, due to certain people's locations, I won't be mentioning any names, Crackers, Lads are Rotty, and all of us, like I say, dotted around the UK. We don't get a chance to see each other a lot, especially on game days. So, look, a chance for all of us to spend some really quality time together and to, again, repay and thank you guys out there for the wonderful support we've had. And as Cracks and Lee have touched upon, and Pat, not just this season, but the many, many seasons beyond. So thank you so much. We're going to go into this one now. Macca, I'm going to open up with you. As I said in my introduction there, it is a 5th place finish for Spurs as they secure a return to European football with Europa qualification. Essentially on the Sheffield United game, Kulusevski, excellent on the day. Impressive displays for Heung-min Son and James Maddison. We'll come on to the wider element of the season. But Lee, final day against Sheffield United, a 3-0 away win. Could we have asked for anything more to top of what's been, as you've said in yourself, a roller coaster season, and one that I'm sure will be part of a longer term journey?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Look, I mean, I think we had a lot of opportunities today to absolutely bury him, and we could have had 5 or 6 easily today. We've hit the woodwork. Keepers had a worldie, so fair play to him. I think Wes is off, isn't he? At the end of the season, he's going somewhere else. For Fondringham, I think it's Fondringham. But yeah, the worldie today. So yeah, I thought we played quite well. You mentioned Deki. He's been very. I think actually Deki surmises Tottenham's season quite nicely. Actually, he's been very up and down, or hot and cold, however you want to talk about it. But obviously, within 2 goals today, playing as a kind of our new left-footed striker, number 9, new left-footed number 9. Let's go. Within 2 goals today, he's ended up on 8 goals and 3 assists for the season. You'd probably want more output from Deki on them numbers. But actually, I'm sure we're getting to kind of individual statistics and stuff. But from the game today, I think 19 shots at goal, 9 on target. I think we had massive amounts of possession. It was a joke. Like I say, we hit the post. Keeps made a couple of really good saves. Could have easily been more. And a clean sheet, Rick Star, a clean sheet, mate. It's the first time we've had a clean sheet for about 15 years. So that was quite nice to go away with as well. When Chelsea went 1-0 up so early on, and I could hear all Spurs fans everywhere, like just the way that we all are, and this part of the mentality thing, but the way we all are thinking, oh no, here we go, it's still 0-0. And to be fair to them, they had a couple of chances, didn't they? Spurs aren't Spurs under Ange Postecoglou unless we give the opposition at least a couple of chances to have a go. And I think they also hit the woodwork or the bar, didn't they? So look, I mean, it is what it is, and we've ended up, I think, all in all. I don't know if you want me to summarise the season yet. I'll maybe do that later, but I think all in all, it's a good shout. And the reason why I've got a beaming smile on my face is because roll it back, team, roll it back. Before the season started, we were on here and we all had our predictions for the season. And
I've got them.
Good old Macca sat here and said, I think we'll finish 5th. I got laughed at. No way. Kane, this, that, and the other. We finished 5th. Should have put a little cheeky one on if that's the way you're inclined.
Cracker's going to come over to you. I mean, look, you said yourself that the last time you was on here, you was shacked up in a Spanish Portaloo. And look, for many, they enjoyed that. I mean,
it was red as well, wasn't it? If you remember, Crackers, it was actually red as well. It's like, must be doing your nutting, mate.
Listen, I don't think Crackers even remember what colour it was, the state he was in on that day, bless him. Look, I mean, when he came out on the beach at the end, I just thought, this is where we've seen the sunshine, bear in mind what the next 2 days held for his X account, only he can comment on. But look, I mean, to put it into certain circumstances, Cracks, that we've gained more points than last season, scored more goals than last season, conceded less than last season, just finished higher in the league table than we did last season. We've qualified for European football, unlike last season. Look, no matter what we say, no matter how we feel, there is progression, right? I mean, give me your thoughts on today, Cracks. We'll come on to the wider element of Spurs, but overall performance that I know you had an interesting day yourself where you were situated.
I did, and I'll make a declaration to the house. I saw not minute 1 of Tottenham today, because I knew Lee and I knew Pat and I knew yourself would have this covered. So I thought, okay, let me just go and get a little flavour of something else, because it's last day of the season. I like to think out of the box sometimes, Rick, because when there's a story, the reporters will go and chase the innocent, 50, 60, 100 of them, and 1 or 2 go and chase the accused and go and get their side of the story. So I just thought, okay, let's see what's what. So I'm currently in England, flying back home tomorrow, and went off to a really, really lovely country pub today with an outside screen, huge, great outside garden, weather beautiful. So I thought, right, I'll go and plot myself up there. So off we went. We got there at about midday, 12:30. Found ourselves a table, and by the time that the game started for the mob down the road, there must have been 500 people in the garden. And it was a mix of Arsenal, of course. There was even some Man City in there, some Chelsea, plenty of Tottenham, plenty of West Ham. And I just wanted to get a little flavour of where everybody was at the end of the season. Now, when Man City goals were going in, and there was obviously news filtering back via the screen and people's social media, the tables of West Ham fans were celebrating because they did not want to see Arsenal winning the league. They don't like them, because I think mainly because of Declan Rice. There was Arsenal fans absolutely elated at some stage when they thought that they might get back in it just before half time, then on the hour, and then the deflation, and then they were up, and then they were down. So I just sort of draw the conclusion that we all had earlier this week, that if you can't go and win something yourself, the next best thing, probably this much just below it, is can my hated opponents and opposition and rivals not win something? And that's the flavour that I got from, and that goes for every fan of every club. If you're Man U, they didn't want to see Man City win it today, vice versa. And if you're Birmingham, they'll be hating that Villa done it. And if you're Rangers, it's Celtic, and and Everton and Liverpool and everyone. So it just sort of maybe reconfirmed that I was thinking, oh, I don't know, maybe Postecoglou's got a point with this. We should be behind our team. And maybe he does have. But football fans are a weird breed. We really are a weird breed, but that's who we are. That is exactly who we are. So, look, I kind of make Postecoglou right with what he said earlier this week, but he's also very, very wrong. Now, the trouble you've got with Postecoglou is he's an overseas manager. He's big, but he speaks English. He speaks because he's Australian. So you kind of forget that. If he was Argentinian or Spanish or Italian, you might sort of think, oh, okay, he doesn't quite get who we are and what we are because he's an overseas manager. But because he's more or less English British, if you like, being Australian, you don't allow him that. So, I mean, I think it's been a huge learning curve for him with regards to rivalries and what that can do to fans. So I just like sitting there today and just getting a flavour of how everybody was with, like, as goals were going in and the final position. It was a bit of a human zoo, and I just sat and observed it. And look, as a wider aspect, British football fans, this is what we are. This is who we are. This is what we do. And if you work within the industry, I think you lose sight of that. Mark Chapman this week was saying this, that, you know, Henry Winter and a couple of others were saying, I didn't quite get Spurs fans wanting to lose, but Chappers absolutely gets it. He really, really does get it. And is it right? Probably not, but it's just the way it is. It's who we are, Rick. And today showed me that. I was actually going to come home from the pub, but there were so many gooners in the pub garden. I just thought, I know they're going to end up crestfallen. I know at some stage they're going to think they're actually in this, and they're not. and then dropped out of it. And the Schadenfreude and the amount of people that was just like, ha 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 ha, you've lost, was absolutely fantastic. I had to be there to see it. So the Spurs game itself, I missed. I've seen a couple of the goals on highlights, but I just wanted to get a little flavour of where everybody was for the end of the season. So that's what I've done today. With regards to the predictions, do you know what? At the end of last season, I said, look, if we play some good football and we finish above 8th, then I'll be happy. There'll be some huge bumps in the road, and that's exactly what's happened. We've finished above 8th. We've ended up 5th. We have had some huge bumps in the road. And so overall, you've got to say, okay, it's progress. It hasn't felt like it a lot of the time. Ange done himself no favours, but at the end of the season, I think it's a tick rather than a minus, and we'll see where next season takes us from here. Is Ange the one? I don't know. The jury's still out, to be honest. I still have to say I'm not quite sure. I think if he gets the right amount of players, then maybe. But I don't know. But what I do know, Rick, is that keep chopping and changing managers doesn't work. That really doesn't work. So let's have a go at something that may work rather than something we know doesn't work.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair. I mean, coming on to you, Pat, look, it has been a season of some absolutely wild highs. The first 10 games. I'm not going to talk about the rest. I'm joking. I can see Lee look at me giving me daggers in a second. But look, in relation to itself, we've had some lows in there. But I think what's been viewed as the whole is that, look, it's a very encouraging first season for Ange Postecoglou. And like we've talked about predictions there. I mean, Pat, I hope you mind me saying this, but obviously you, I think, said we're going to be 9th. Spurs have finished 5th. I mean, and look, as Crack's picked up on there, it's the first season since the 18-19 season campaign that a Spurs manager has started and ended a campaign. And Spurs do close the season out, ironically, when Lee said, like, a clean sheet and a comfortable 3 points. In the first half, that really, we had a whole host of missed opportunities. We quickly laid to rest 2 goals in Salvo in the second half. Kulusevski, the best player on the pitch. I think many really wanted to feel that and see that in terms of him needing to get back that form. Patty, what did you make of it for you? Again, it's a bit of a mad day. Crack said there, look, we're not going to lie. We weren't the flavour of the day. I mean, Sky didn't even televise us for those that obviously see the UK coverage. So we weren't the most attractive team on the day to be watching. But Patty, what was your takeaway from it?
Yeah, I thought Sky did us really dirty by not televising our game when they put on the Chelsea-Bournemouth game. I mean, we had more to play for than Chelsea. So I don't understand why we weren't on televised and Chelsea were. But it just goes to show what they think of us right now. And it's fine, it's fair, and it is what it is. But regarding the game, Kulusevski, thank God. Like, we all love the kid. We all know how talented he is. And it's been really frustrating watching him because in one moment he's magical and magnificent, like the Arsenal game. And then the next game I have an absolute stinker and he's in the team and he's not. And I do feel for him because he has been played in all different sorts of positions. But a guy of his talent should be doing more. And I'm sure if we had an honest conversation with him, he would turn around and say that it's not been his best season, but he finished strong today. 2 really good finishes. He looked really up for it. Like you said, Rick, he was the best player on the pitch. And that's the Kulusevski that we want to see, man. We want to see more of that kind of level of player, game in and game out. And I don't know, it was a weird one because a lot of fans went into this game worried. I wasn't. I was like, you know what, Sheffield United away from home. I know we haven't been great in terms of our form, but I did think that we would win and win quite comfortably, and we did. We exerted our style onto them, had a lot of shots, loads of possession, and it was 3-0, but it could have been 5 or 6, like Lee said. And all in all, a good way to finish the season. There's 2 ways to look at it. I feel that it has been a good season. I definitely feel there's been progress. If you look at it statistically, more points on the board, more goals scored, less conceded, definitely implemented a brand of football. But there's been so many frustrations and so many, times where we just been annoyed. Like, I think what will get lost with the Man City game on Tuesday is actually how well we played. tactical intelligence and tactical flexibility that I've been screaming for on here for months, and showed that he has got that in his locker against Man City. We played Sarr as a false 9. We mixed it up. You know, we played Dragusin at the back. Mickey van der Ven at left back. And we looked really comfortable. They're the best team in the land. Best team in Europe, probably. I mean, the stats prove it, how much they've won and how good they are. And we looked really comfortable, went toe-to-toe with them. Ultimately, in the end, we lost 2-0, but it wasn't a game that we got spanked. It wasn't a game that we got outplayed. And I thought Ange really did well in that game. And this is what we were calling for in the Chelsea game, the Arsenal game, Liverpool away. And it's frustrating because he has got it in him now. So that's one thing. I was also really disappointed with Ange as well, like the comments and the way he essentially came out. He then turned around and said that he didn't attack the fans and he got it wrong. But I thought, how can Ange say these things when he managed in Scotland and he managed like old firm derbies, and surely you would get a feel of what the fans feel and how they envision and what the rivalry means. And I was a bit worried and a bit miffed that he didn't understand what Tottenham and Arsenal rivalry means and what it means to the Spurs fans as opposed to the players. And don't get me wrong, the players went out and they were professional and they did a job and they tried to win. But I was really confused why he didn't understand why the fans didn't want, not all the fans, but a lot of the fans didn't want us to win that game, considering the circumstances. And it really wound me up as well, considering that we had lost 4 on the spin. And all of us fans wanted to win every single one of those games, you know. And when we didn't show no fight in the derbies, and when we were 3-0 down after 38 minutes and getting spanked 4-0 here and this and that, and I didn't see no fight or desire there, but I saw that against Man City. So these kind of things wound me up. But all in all, a decent first season for Ange. The building blocks are there, and it's just whether Daniel Levy backs him in the summer, because the foundations have been laid. You can clearly see what he's trying to do. He definitely needs more players, especially now we're in Europe. But it's a good season. It's a positive start. I'm not going to come on here and be negative. I do think there's a lot of good things that have happened. But, you know, he's managed and he's navigated himself through the rocky moments. So we can all see there is something there about Ange, and hopefully he gets the time in his back. That's all it is, really.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're all on that agreement piece that, you know, we can't just keep just firing managers. I mean, Lee, I think, put out a tweet actually before the game, pre-game on X, where, you know, Lee, you put a point there, you know, I think 6 managers you put up on your screen, on your X post at the time. And, you know, again, we're going to add managers to that. I mean, whatever we say, whilst, again, I'm not going to sit here and be a hypocrite and say I haven't got my concerns tactically under Ange, because I think those that watch this show want an honest opinion from me, that I do have some concerns. But look, again, I'm judging someone that's only had 2 transfer winners, and really, I think, as we've seen, I hate to say it, from that mob down the road, they haven't won it, obviously, the Premier League. It took Arteta a while to get his players in. And then again, you look at what he's done at that football club. It's very harsh, I think, for me to be judging someone so early on.
What has he done, Rick? I'm not being weird here, right? But what has he actually done? He won an FA Cup in his first half a season, right? To be fair, it's miles more than what this bloody ownership has given us. 1 trophy in 16 years. In 23 years, 1 trophy they've given us. So I'm not knocking him for that. But what has he actually done? Like, to be fair, he finished 8th and 8th, right? He got a trophy, then he finished 8th, then he finished 8th. Then they bottled the top 4. They bottled the league last season. And now they ain't won it again. Like, with the greatest respect, I'm not digging them out, because I think they've been a true story, right? I think they've been brilliant this year. Like, they have been brilliant. But you know what? If we did what they're doing with some of the fan base and some of the stuff I've heard over the last 3 months, I don't think we'd be happy. I don't think. Just see where I'm coming from. So what?
All I can say on that piece is from what I see from the eye test is, and from, again, unfortunately, me having association with a lot of friends that unfortunately are from that lot down the road, is that they absolutely love the way they're playing. They absolutely love the connection between the players. Absolutely love the connection between the manager and everybody. And the reality is that, let's be honest about it, if City aren't City, they are going to win that league. And I think the situation, as anyone will feel now, is that this is the first time it's unprecedented that a team has won it 4 times on the bounce. And the reality is that as long as Guardiola is there, they're going to keep on winning that league. And I think the reality is that I think as Spurs fans, and again, I'll say this, I know a lot of Australians who watch and listen to this show can't get it to some degree. And again, I apologise for saying this. There is a big relief amongst the Spurs fan base that Guardiola is there again this season, and has, of course, achieved and won the league with them. But at the end of the day, again, they have spent a huge amount of money, maybe to back up your point here, Lee. But I think, again, being honest with you, if it was any other team or any other situation, they would be winning that league. But again, it's a unique situation where now, to probably win a Premier League, you're probably going to have to do next season, 94, 95, 96 points in reality. So I think it now shows you just how hard it is to compete. And look, I love the fact, just back to Ange for a second, he's come out and says, I want to compete for this league, which is fantastic to hear. But I think when you see the juggernaut that is Man City in terms of what they're doing, it's going to be very, very hard to achieve that. It's not impossible, because nothing's impossible with football, as we saw Leicester City. But I think the reality is that, look, when we look at the cold, heart of day, it's been a decent first season under Ange. Foundations have been laid. Again, I won't get away from it. I have my concerns. Again, I know many will want to think that, it's all sunshine and roses. But I think, as Ange said in his post-match presser, we have lost 5 out of the last 7 games. I think, again, he's been disappointed the way it's ended. But at the end of the day, we've got to look at the long-term pictures. You keep telling us as well, Lee. It's not all about this season. It's about what the man's going to do in the summer. And if I can just say, look, on the win, he said, look, I thought we were pretty good. I thought it was important that we put in a decent performance. We won the game for a number of reasons. I thought the lads handled it pretty well. It's always a bit difficult last game of the season. Sheffield United don't have much to play for, so it can be easier kind of situation where to not have the right mentality. But I thought for most of the part, we did. 3 goals. I thought Wes Foderingham was outstanding. Overall, I think it was a really important win and a good performance. And as I've touched upon already, Ange is the first manager to complete a full season at Spurs since 18-19. And just on the first season, and this is where I'll get your boys' thoughts before we do go for a break. He said, look, on the first season, it's been good, it's been eventful, it's been a bit of everything. I'm obviously not delighted with the way we finished the season, but in fairness to the players and the staff, we've been in the top 5 all season. In a year where there's been a bit of upheaval, we finished 8th last year, player turnover, different football, different way of training. It is not easy to maintain a level when you are trying to do that. Even in our tough periods this year, we have still been competitive for the most part. I think I've got maximum effort, which is all I can ask for. In relation to how much he's enjoyed the season, he said, look, contrary to my general demeanour, I've loved every minute of it. It's a great change in the Premier League and taking over a big club that didn't have a great year last year. You have to understand it's not going to run smoothly. I've enjoyed the whole season. I've got lofty ambitions for this football club. And until we reach that point, I'm not going to be smiling too much. As I said, any manager who wants maximum effort, I've got that from everyone involved. I've enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to pushing from here. I mean, Cracks, look, I know, look, despite reservations or whatever, nobody can't love the way the man speaks. Nobody can't love the way that this man talks about football. And the reality is, look, if he can follow through on a lot of the things he's saying there, we're on to something very, very special. But the reality is, we know this is a two-way street. It's going to require backing from the board. It's going to require, I think, as we said from Ange, a little bit of tactical flexibility, like we've seen, of course, in that Man City game, like Pat said there. But the reality is, again, I will come back to it. It is the first season that he was in. And as we've said here, I think he's exceeded all of our expectations in terms of the position in the table. The reality is we had an amazing start, which I think, as we all know, did really accelerate maybe some of our expectations. And I think the reality is where Spurs are finished in the league, I think we can't get away from it. It's probably about right, Cracks. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's a tough one because, as Pat said, he couldn't quite understand that he never got this fan mentality thing because he was at Celtic. And obviously what goes on with Rangers, but then that's the Scottish Premier League, and that's a whole different ball game to the English Premier League. It really is, Rick, because if you take it as somewhere like London, you've got some pubs within London where you've got to wipe your feet on the way out, and then you've also got the Ritz. I mean, they're all within one city, and it's the same thing. It's the same place, but a totally different environment. And that's the Premier League. So he's still learning that. He's come in. He might have thought that he knows it, but he's learning on the job as well with it. So he needs some time to adjust and to try and get the merry-go-round of what goes on in the Premier League. So yeah, he's got much to learn, and he will learn. I like him. I do really like him. But like you say, there's that tactical flexibility that he needs to start getting. And he does need his own players. I mean, he lost his star player. He lost Kane, at the start of the season. We lost Kane at the start of the season. It was a huge blow. He's come in with his own ideas, his own philosophies, his own way of playing. So all of that takes a lot of time to bed in, a good long time. Now it comes down to, will he get the players that he thinks he needs to do things his way? I think that's the biggest stumbling block in all of it. I think Ange can probably adapt and learn on the job and learn that some flexibility and learn who he can rely on, who he can't rely on, get rid of the unwilling, then you get rid of the unable. But all of this, Rick, really does rely on a board that backs you and is willing to take a hit on maybe a Tanguy Ndombele and just let him go. Just finish his contract up. See you later. Like Arsenal did, like they did down the road. I think as much as we dislike them, if you take out of the equation who they are and what they mean to us and look at them just as a football club, that's exactly where we need to go. I think they've laid down the roadmap to us. I take a bit of issue with what Lee said, to be honest, a bit earlier, and I don't like to take issue, but I will. They've taken Man City to the last day of the season and were 2 goals off of winning that this season. This is up against a club that's got 115 charges hanging over their head. Now, they may well be found innocent of those, but as it stands, they are hanging over them. Arsenal have done everything by the book. There's no hint of any impropriety with what they've done. They've got rid of the unable, the unwilling, brought in players, got them to buy into it, spent some money, spent good money, but within their means, and got to where they are now. That's where we need to be. And to be able to go literally toe-to-toe with a Man City that play by different financial rules, which may end up being outside of the rules, then I think that they've done a brilliant job. So what I'm trying to say is everything Arsenal's done, we can do with bells on, because what we earn and make as a club, everything is with another 2 noughts on the end of it. Our revenue streams compared to them are off the scale. So we can go and do what they've done. We can back it financially. You've got to be smart in your recruitment. You've got to be brave in your recruitment. And ultimately, with the Premier League, you have got to throw a few quid at it. It's as simple as that. If you throw money at it, it will help you. I know you can say, yeah, but what about Chelsea and what they've done? But look, you've got to get the combination of all those things: the bravery, the money, and the know-how, and a little bit of smartness. So I like Ange, but he's got to have his players this close season. They've got to go and get them for him, and they've got to just get rid of those that he doesn't want as well. If they do that, and he's got that little bit of like knowledge and know-how and a little bit more flexibility and a bit more learning of the Premier League, we may well have something on our hands. Ultimately, Rick, if it doesn't work out and he isn't the one, and we give him those maybe 3-4 years and it doesn't work out, that won't trouble me. That will not trouble me, because I know at least the club has said, right, okay, we've given this a good go. Because even the best made plans in football sometimes don't work out. It's as simple as that. As simple as that. But if you can walk away from that plan and go, we absolutely exhausted it to its last sinew of muscle and strength, then you say, okay, but well done for having a go. Well done for backing something, believing in something, and not changing a manager every 2 minutes. Because at the moment, Ange is dealing with some Pochettino players, some Jose players, some Conte players, some players for the bloke that used to put the cones out for Conte, for Ryan Mason, for, I don't know, whoever else had a go in the meantime. He's got 4 or 5 managers worth of players. They're not his players. They're not his people. So you have to give him some time to have a go with the people that he wants around him. And if it fails and we've had a right good go, I'll just say, well done. It didn't work, but you've had a go.
That's fair. Before I get Lee back in there for a right reply, can I just come around to you, Pat, just so I get your take on, again, Ange's comments, the season overall. I think, look, as Cracks has said there, I mean, look, the reality is it's very hard to judge a man that not only has got his own players, but also has not got his own staff members. And I think, again, Ange's been alluding to that recently in his pressers, that ultimately it might not just be a change in players we need. It might just be a case of bringing in some other staff that could ultimately, again, add some different features to what they've got currently now. I mean, how important is that, Pat, that there's an element where when we go into season 2 at the start of it, Ange's got what he believes to be much more of his own team around him. And again, it won't be all of his own team because, again, it will only be his second season. It'll be his 3rd transfer window. So it gets to be very hard to say he's got everything he wants in that, obviously, 3rd window. But how much more closer do you think we will be seeing, Pat, to an Ange team going into the start of next season? And what do you take away from his comments on this season for you?
You know what? It's a really good question, but ultimately I don't know because it depends on how much or how big Daniel Levy's willing to go. And with Ange Postecoglou, you can see that there is a solid foundation. There's a guy who's not that volatile. He seems like he wants to be here for the long run. He seems like he wants to really make his imprint and put his stamp on Tottenham and ultimately the Premier League. But if Daniel Levy doesn't back him, all of this is by the by and it doesn't mean much. But if I just for argument's sake say that Daniel Levy will back him, just for argument's sake, just, we'll just cut out all the negativity and just be positive, then yeah, I mean, it will be exciting going into the season. Like you said, they have more of his own players. You cut away all the stuff where he's got players like Lo Celso, Brian Gill, even Oliver Skip to a degree, players that he doesn't really trust and doesn't really want to use. And then they have his own players. Take away the names. Let's not put names out for now because it's too early. But whoever he brings in, hopefully they're his signings, not club signings. And then
never too early to talk transfers, Pat. Come on.
You know what? Because obviously I put a tweet out yesterday about names and who I want to see in, and it got quite a bit of traction. And people say, "Make sure you bring this up on Last Word on Spurs. Make sure you say that." And I was thinking about it, and I was like, "Do I really want to go down this road so early on? The season's literally just finished, so we don't want to get caught up with all this transfer hullabaloo, or however you say it." But also at the same time, if Ange doesn't get his own players, then all of this means nothing. So I really hope that Daniel Levy sees something in Ange. He's brought him in. And so, it was a gamble to get a guy from the Scottish League, and obviously with his track record, and we all can see Ange's got something about him. But it was a big gamble. It's early days, so I wouldn't say it's paid off, but the signs are really positive, and there is something there. But he now needs to be backed, and if he's not backed, then what's the point? And what is it Lee said about Arsenal and what have they done? And I agree with Crackers. I think Arsenal are a fantastic team. I think if we're very lucky and fortunate.
By the way, I can't let you waffle on about Arsenal any longer without me coming back, right? I did not say they weren't a good team. I didn't say that. I actually said the complete opposite. I actually said I think they're a really good team. What I actually said, though, what have they done? What have they won? Because that is what everybody piles onto us, onto this Spurs podcast, onto Last One Spurs. We get battered every week for we don't win nothing. And I've seen so much griff and graff over the last few months about Tottenham and Ange, and we can't do this and we won't do that. And he's the right man, he's not the right man. And look, we're losing 4-0, 3-0, whatever. And my point was, quite simply, if we were in the position, and I've got some statistics here if you want them, if we were in a position that Arsenal have been in the last few seasons, there will be people in this fan base that are not happy. That was my point, and I caveated it by saying, I think Arsenal were amazing this season. I didn't say they were rubbish. I didn't say, but I did say, what have they done? What have they won? They won anything. They won an FA Cup 4 years ago in his first season. Now, if we had done the same thing, which we did, by the way, you talk about going toe-to-toe with Man City. We went toe-to-toe with a Russian oligarch, Chelsea, back in 2016-17. We had the best defensive record in the league. We scored more goals than anyone else. We had the best goal difference than anyone else. We got 86 points during that season, and we were turned over amazingly by Chelsea, who, by the way, won more games that season than what Man City have just won. Yeah, they got more points that season than what Man City has just done. Guess what, team? We went toe-to-toe with Chelsea, which was exactly the same scenario.
Yeah,
so
you're right. You're right.
Actually, I know I am. And the other thing I would say, our blueprint, I actually think Arsenal took the Tottenham blueprint, because before they started on their Arteta journey, Spurs had finished above them 6 times out of 7 seasons. And then all of a sudden, the turnaround started to happen. So this is why there's infighting and frustration with the fans, because why are Arsenal the benchmark? We have no right today for Arsenal to be the benchmark. They're way ahead of us. I think all of us should know that, right? They're way ahead of us on their journey. Our benchmark should be Newcastle, Man United, West Ham, Aston Villa. That's why it's just troubling that we finished 5th, 2 points behind Villa. Why should they be finishing above us? Arsenal should be way above us because of where they've been. And again, Darren said it in the comments earlier about, not being back to myth. We've spent, since the Champions League final, we've spent £685 million on players. This football club.
We have, Lee, we have got a lot of
29 players. We signed 29 players during that time. We've only recouped 232 million, 0.5 million, back, and including the club decided to sell our best ever striker in a season to leave Ange 24 hours before the Brentford game kicked off with 0 number 9. I mean, it's absolute carnage situation. And all of us on this pod, all of us, and the fans I speak to around the ground in the South Stand, all my mates, we were in absolute disarray at the end of last season. Run it back, man. Go back to how you felt. And then we come through this season, and some of the frustrations, I'm not condoning 4-0 to Newcastle. I'm not condoning losing Wolves at home. I'm not condoning that. But we all knew there was going to be bumps in the road. Yet we've come away finishing 5th, with more points, more goals, more wins, less losses than we did last season. And yet we're moaning. I can't get out. I can't get everything I look at. The eye test you talk about, I go every week. I'm in the stadium every week. I see it every week. Some of the football has been amazing. Some of the football has been freaking turgid. And the turgid football is where we don't finish our chances. Yeah. We've missed 65 big chances in the league this year. That's the top 5. So we're 5th in the league table of missing. We are also 3rd for hitting the woodwork this season. These are little things that go on. If that goes in and not hit the bar or hit the post, maybe we're getting the extra 3 points. Now, we're not that far off being 8th, but we're also not that far off from top 4, top 3. I mean, how are we even comparing ourselves to City, as Crackers just eloquently put? They're a juggernaut, etc., or Arsenal or Liverpool. They're way ahead of where we should be. So that's how I feel. I just feel that I actually quite like how you lot are going to absolutely hate me if you don't want to cancel me. Rick's going to phone me in a minute and cancel me. Look, I actually quite liked what Ange said about the fans. And the reason why I did is because we all got defensive over it. We got defensive of ourselves because we know there's a little element of it. And he has to create chaos. He has to create something to invoke change. Because if he doesn't say stuff like that, I mean, firstly, he's a professional, so he cannot come out in a press conference and say, yeah, let's lose to Arsenal. Obviously, he can't do that. One, he didn't want to do that either. I don't think the players wanted to either. But he has to, when you're building something and building the foundations to change something, you have to go through pain. You have to. You go and ask Pep, go and ask anyone else. And that's why I'm so convinced that Ange is the man, because all of them shoots that I can see, plus the bits of football, plus all the stats on the pitch that we've seen, that's why I can see that he's the man for the job. So sorry, Pat, to cut you off.
Lee, that situation we was in against Man City was an absolute freak, unique situation. And you cannot tell me if the boot had been on the other foot and that was Arsenal playing them, there would have been some element of their fan base that would have wanted to lose to stop us. And ditto, as I said, with Newcastle and Sunderland, and ditto with Liverpool and Everton and Man U and Liverpool, or Man U and City. That was just a freak occurrence. So, Rick, you know that I said to you before a ball was kicked that night, I actually agreed with Ange. We had a conversation on the phone about it, and I said, I make him right, actually. He is right. We shouldn't be wanting to lose. We should want to win this game. As I said to you on the phone, Rick, I want to win this game. And whatever comes from it elsewhere comes from it, because you have to build in a mentality of winning and wanting to win. But
that was his sentiment behind it, wasn't it? That is what his kind of sentiment was.
Yeah. But you have to balance that with the fan mentality of there being a schadenfreude. That's the way fans work. They're petty idiots. We all are. We're all grown adults that are married and got kids and got mortgages and, you know, go to work 9 to 5 and put dinner on the table. When it comes to football, we're absolutely gibbering idiots. We are idiots. We there's part of it where you turn around and go, oh, I don't mind losing today because that mob up the road will go it will scupper their plans. That's just what you do. It's just a fan mentality. So it's, I wouldn't get too hooked up on that. And I don't think that fan mentality of fans wanting to lose was really as bad as it came across. I think people listening to like Sky Sports and Talk Sport, there was a lot of bait and switch going on, a hell of a lot, where they were, saying, oh, let us know if you want Tottenham to lose. If you're a Tottenham fan and you want to lose this week. And they put through 5 callers that all went, yeah, I'm getting right behind Man City. Even one of our own, and Costa phone was on with TalkSport, and he was singing Oasis songs, and he was having a bit of a laugh with it as well. But they put that on, and then they put the odd 1 or 2 on that said, no, we've got to build a winning mentality. And then when they did win, they would, the switch came, and it was like, fancy wanting your team to lose, how terrible of you. But it was such a rare, unique situation. But I think any other team's fans in the same situation, looking at their rivals, would have done the same. There would have been an element of fans that wanted that. That's just being a football fan. Pettiness, schadenfreude, all comes into it, as well as supporting your own team. It's literally like a balance between the two. So it was a one-off. After that, everybody else is back on board, back wanting Spurs winning and going out there and doing the business. So it was a strange exercise. I wouldn't take any general feeling of the fan base and who they are and what they are and their psychology, to be honest.
Can I come in, Pat? Because Pat was mid-flow there. So, Pat, can I come in to you, bud? I mean, that was about half hour ago.
Sorry, buddy.
Pat was mid-flow about 20 past 8. So, Pat, can I come back round to you? And then we're going to go for our first break. People will probably know what are we even talking about here. This might say the relevance of that Sheffield United game and the result. But this is what happens when the boys aren't on for a couple of weeks. We go on other things. We'll go to Pat and then we'll go for the break. Pat, I've even forgot what I was even asking you now. I think I was asking you to maybe summarise kind of first season of Ange and what comes next. So I'll let you take us away if you don't mind on that one.
Yeah, no, cool. First season, I think he's had a very solid first season. I'd give him a 7 out of 10 if I was ranking him. I do feel that he's like all of us have alluded to many a time. He's gone through a lot of adversity. We lost Harry Kane literally a day before the season kicked off. He's had to implement a new style. So I'm just laughing at there's a comment in case you're listening in. It goes, Pat's on the show. Yeah, I'm still here.
Get some more chat out of Pat, can we please? God.
But yeah, he lost Harry Kane, the world's best strikers we've all seen this season. He's had to struggle with the fact that we don't have a reliable number 9. As much as we all love Richarlison, he's not really there when we need him. So Son's had to play in a position that's not his best. He's had to integrate Brennan Johnson, new wing backs, a new goalkeeper, new centre backs. We had a crazy, catastrophic game against Chelsea where we lost 2 players. Had Mickey and Madders go out injured. We had suspended players. There's been so much that's gone on. The crazy thing is we've lost 4 on the spin, and we've not done that in like 20 odd years. So there's been highs, there's been lows, there's been middle bits, but I do think that he's definitely got something about him, and the fans have got behind him and stuck with him, and we've come out the other side. It's frustrating we didn't finish in the top 4 considering how the season started, and we were there for pretty much at least a third or a fourth of the season. But ultimately, I think 5th is where we all feel that we deserve to be. It would have been criminal if Chelsea would have picked us to 5th in the last, day of the season. That would have been mental. I feel 5th is a solid and good start to our campaign under Ange. There's definitely work to be done. The good thing is we can all see where the consistencies or inconsistencies are. We can all see we need to work on set pieces. We can all see we need more strength and depth. We can all see that we need a number 9. We need a defensive midfielder that can really sit back and protect the back line because we are quite vulnerable. And we can all see as well that Ange, which I do like to admit now that I've seen that he can change things up because he did it against Man City. We can all see that there's a lot of things that can be worked on, but there are positive signs. There are definitely positive signs. And again, Ange isn't someone that I wanted, as you guys all know. I did predict us to finish 9th. We finished 5th. So I'm not going to sit here and be all upset and all negative. I think it's a good first season. Frustrating we didn't get top 4, but I do feel if we're looking at this as a brand new start of a cycle and a campaign, I think Europa League football, as I said a long time ago, if we're stuttering and our form isn't good, I'd rather us be in the Europa League and go all out and win it. I generally feel we can win the Europa League.
I was going to ask you that.
Generally, I do. I honestly feel
Europa League is a better at the stage of our development and where we are. Do you think the Europa League is better for us at this stage?
Yeah. I'm slightly concerned that even though they say don't watch other teams, I'm slightly annoyed that Chelsea got in it because Chelsea somehow always managed to get a cup somewhere or somehow, even when they're not good. And obviously they got the funds.
They got Poch in
I
charge.
know.
So
but
they got Conference League. They got Conference League, isn't they, at the moment?
No, well, at the moment they got Europa.
I know.
Man United win it.
Might beat City, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
I don't know. So as it stands, they've got. It
was important to get over the line for that.
Yeah. But definitely, and we're in pot 1 as well, which is good. And I do feel with no Champions League drop downs, I feel we can win that, and I want us to go and win it. And if we do, that's a fantastic trophy, and it's a Champions League spot the year after. But yeah, I see the names of that the guy just put there. Doesn't matter. We should and should be aiming to beat those teams. So yeah. I do feel it's a solid first season, and the good thing is that Ange has brought along a couple of really bright, shining players like Vicario, like Maddison, who's not been great all season, but you definitely can see the player, and obviously the best of the best, Mickey van der Ven, who I feel has been one of the best centre backs in the league. And it's a shame that our clean sheets and our defensive record hasn't been as solid as it could have been because that guy's a star. And he's obviously.
I also.
I know you were mentioning Destiny as well. Yeah, sorry, but I wouldn't go for a break. But I was going to ask Pat and Crackers and you, Rick, because you don't get to answer lots of questions. But just on that, like,
sorry, what time are we finishing the show?
I thought we'd start talking about Tottenham rather than fucking Arsenal and the rest of it.
I blame Cracks and Pat, but you start off again.
No, I'm not starting that again. Forget that. Scrap that out. Edit that. I
was happy to do a Spurs podcast, but clearly you guys didn't want to.
We conceded 61 goals this year, which, let's be fair, you can't dress it up, mate. That's terrible. I mean, we did 63 last year, so it's 2 better off, but still, it's terrible. I think last year was a record for 10 years or something ridiculous. But my question was going to be, I don't think there's any doubt that we need to improve our defence, that's for sure, in terms of goals conceded. But I also don't think there's any doubt, which is quite strange, that both Mickey van der Ven and Romero are outstanding. I mean, they're 2 brilliant centre-backs. I mean, Mickey van der Ven scored 3 league goals this year, and Romero has ended the season the highest scoring centre-back in the league with 5. So you know, they're scoring at that. But that's what I was going to ask to all of you is, do you think that 61 goals conceded is going to drastically change next year? Because that's another year in the Premier League. You've got to remember, we talk about Ange and whether or not we think he's tactically adaptable or not. But VDV, that's his first season in the Premier League. Like Destiny Doggy, first season in the Premier League. Vicario, first season in Premier League. I mean, this is mad. Really,
Pedro Porro's first full season as well, because he started halfway through.
And he was a wing back as well and all that stuff. So, do you think that there's 61 goal shit this year? Do you think there's if you get 20 goals off of that, which again, to put into context, Poch did that in his second season, like so with Tottenham. That's exactly what I did. I read the stat earlier. We conceded 26 goals in our championship title chase against Chelsea that season, 16-17, 26 goals. And in our first season, we conceded 50. Excuse me, I've got it here somewhere. We conceded 57 in our first season. So he did shrink it. And Liverpool this season has conceded 41, and they finished third on 82 points. So it's possible to get up in the 80s. What I'm saying, still conceding 40 odd goals, because I think we're always going to concede goals. Team, I think that's what we're going to do under Ange. But do you think if we can shrink that down, that's going to make a huge difference, isn't it, Pat?
It really is. And it's funny that you looked at that, because I looked at that also, because that's one of the first areas you can look at where to improve. And we conceded on 61 goals. But funny enough, so did Aston Villa, and so did Bournemouth, who we tied for joint 6 in goals conceded. But if you look at Arsenal,
Chelsea conceded 63.
I know. So
63. West Ham conceded 74.
When you feel like, obviously, us being Spurs fans and being in the mix and going to all the games and living it week in and week out, it felt crazy the amount of goals we shipped. But when I look at the league and the other teams around us, it was quite not alarming, but I was quite shocked to see that a lot of teams conceded around about the same goals or a lot more than us. Like Aston Villa shipping 5 today, criminal. They were on the beach clearly, but that means they finished the league with this conceding the same amount of goals as us. And Chelsea conceded 63, so just a few more. Newcastle 62. So as bad as we feel our defensive woes are, there's other teams that are around us pretty much there or thereabouts. But it's something that we can definitely pick up on, and that should hopefully propel us up the table. Arsenal conceding only 29 is insane. I mean, I hate to say that team is solid. They are very, very solid. They were quite fortunate, to be fair. None of their key players got injured this season. We had a lot of injuries. I mean, we went to the Etihad with, just to put it into context, we went to the Etihad playing Ben Davies and Emerson Royale as our centre-back pairing. And we actually got a draw in that game. It was 2-2. I don't know how that happened.
Earlier when we're talking about like some of the results and it's frustrating. And of course, look, I'm the same as everyone else. I'm really frustrated. But when you put context around it, we went to Wolves and lost, right? We were 1-0 up in the 90th minute and we lost. Yeah. We had Ben Davies and freaking Emerson Royale centre back. Then we went to City and we got a 3-3 draw with Emerson Royale. I mean, this is mental. Like, really, I mean, honestly, if we'd have had that no injury situation, it would be different. I'm not saying
we would have definitely finished in the top 4. We would have finished in the top 4. We would have finished in the top 4 without the injuries.
Maybe if we had a number 9 as well, we might have outscored them. Because you know what? If you win every game 6-5, you win the league.
Mate.
And you've conceded even more goals. But if you win 6-5 every game, you win the league. Simple as that. So, you know, a lot of this, it goes hand in hand with your striker situation as well. We're desperate for a number 9. It's I've got no doubts we'd have been in or around the mix with Kane up top this season. It's a bit like with the Werner situation. There's a lot of people down on Werner, but watching him play, there's a lot of his play and a lot of the balls he puts into the box that are just crying out for Kane to be out on the end of. And if Kane was there sticking those away, all of a sudden Werner looks like an absolute genius buy that slots into our system. He's a player that's like, you know, putting bricks in, like an odd carrier putting bricks into a bricklayer that ain't there no more. And that's the difference. And you kind of think to yourself, well, Werner looks like a cheap option, but he's done brilliantly. I think he's done brilliantly. He's just missing that element at the end of his game. Do you know, like to put the ball in the goal. He's feeding in a striker or a position that's just not being played. So there's a lot of balances that need to be checked and sorted out in this team as well too.
Can I just say on Werner, the only thing for me cracks is on that point, and you're right. I think from the element of his contribution from distribution, you can't argue that. You know, I think the stats back it up. I think they did it on a Squawker, that when you look at overall what he brings to, I think the Premier League, he was up there in the top 2 or 3 for his actual conversion of obviously crosses into the box. But the problem is, I think my concern about spending the money on somebody like him is that we're buying a forward that we know cannot finish. And I think that is such a dangerous game to have. I mean, how many can you genuinely actually spend money on somebody that you know cannot finish unless the ball is, with no disrespect to him, 2 yards from the goal that he can't miss in an open net? That's where I've really got my conflictions. Can you just save that money and put it to someone like an Eze, for example, who's going to score another hat trick we've seen on the last day? And that guy, to me, looks like an absolute Spurs type of player, or a Jack Grealish, something like that. It's not getting regular game time. You might think I'm crazy by saying that, but if you've got genuine ambition to go there and want to challenge the top for the top, you have to go and sign these players. And I think, again, it will show me in the summer exactly where Spurs' ambitions are. If the first signing, with no disrespect,
but I've got no problem with a Werner staying, but there needs to be somebody ahead of him. So he needs to be the backup. He needs to be the one that backs up whoever comes in ahead of him, as well as a number 9 and as well as that number 6. So again, Rick, it's always, all roads lead back to that board and how much they're going to throw at this and back a manager. It always does. It always comes back to ENIC actually not offering the money, and but hand in hand with that, because they have spent money, the recruitment needs to be right as well. It absolutely has to be right. But you know that if you go out and get an Eze, Premier League proven, if you used to go out and get an Ivan Toney or an Isaks, now Premier League proven. But they're going to cost a hell of a lot of money. But do you know what, Rick? A hell of a lot of money we've got to spend. So over to you, Bald. How brave are you going to be?
That's exactly where we're at. Listen, what we are going to do, we're going to try and get to a Sheffield United review here. 1 hour and 8 minutes in. We are going to go for our first break of the show for our listeners on audio. Guys, there's nearly over 4,000 of you watching us live. As always, thank you so much for all your incredible support for the show. That's on X, that's on Instagram, that's on YouTube, that is across the socials. Get involved. Please leave comments after the show. Look, believe it or not, I will say this, and I think, again, I don't say this enough. We read all your comments that come on in relation to on the YouTube comments when you obviously drop them into our feed on X as well. So please feel free to get involved. We genuinely appreciate all the support for the show. Better housekeeping, if you don't mind, guys. A reminder that we are delighted on Last Word on Spurs, as always, to be sponsored by NordVPN. They've been our long-term partners for the last 4 or 5 years. It's great for this time of year. If you're looking to go away on holiday, you want to save a bit of money, whether it be on flights, accommodation, of course, wherever you are in and around the world, you can change your location settings. It does mean that you can appear to be in one country that you're not than the other. It means you can save things such as maybe YouTube, for example. It doesn't have to be just holidays. Again, for sport, if you're around the world and you can't get, for example, BBC iPlayer, ITVX, wherever you are, for those that are loving Love Island, that's going to come back soon. I'm hiding Crackers away, but he can't wait for Love Island to start, believe me. Married at First Sight, he can't wait. Make sure you do check out nordvpn.com/LWS. The comments are all in there. And no, I'm not going to Crackers for a summary on Love Island or Married at First Sight, because it could take over the end of the show. And Lee can't wait for that.
Rick, for Thursday night, Paul Gascoigne said to me, look at you should be on Love Island. He said I was good looking enough to be on Love Island. Honestly, I said to him, I don't think I could even make it on the Canvey Island, mate, let alone Love Island.
Oh, the show. Don't tell me you know the show don't give you value. It doesn't. A reminder as well. Look, last one on Spurs. We are going to have our own little end of season special. Please watch us. Please drink with us. Please party with us. We're going to be with you on Sunday, the 2nd of June, from 5 p.m. UK time in the Bricklayers in Tottenham. Look, if you're interested and you want to secure your spot to have an interesting evening where we're going to have a bit of a game theme to it, an element where it'll be your favourite panellists taking on a range of games, and we're going to end it on a bit of a gathering. You can join us for that by going to this number here that I'm going to give you now. You can reserve your spot by texting or calling 07398 990747. That's 07398 990747. Or, of course, you can use the QR code available on the screen right now, or drop us an email over at lastwordonspurs@outlook.com. Right, guys, I'm not going to dress it up to you. This is going to be a very, very brief review of the Sheffield United game, which I think for many of us here, I think that's what we all need, a very, very brief review. In terms of the team, look, Ange made one change on the game itself. It saw, obviously, Postecoglou bringing in Dejan Kulusevski to his starting 11. Vicario starting in goal with a back four compromising of Pedro Porro, Cristian Romero, Radu Dragusin and Mickey van der Ven. Of course, it meant in attack, we had Heung-min Son through the middle once again, with no experienced out-and-out striker available. And as mentioned, Kulusevski starting, Brennan Johnson starting on either of the side of the Tottenham captain, Vicario Porro Romero, Dragusin van der Ven, Benton Corsar, Maddison, Kulusevski, Son Johnson, with a bench of Austin Whiteman, Emerson Højbjerg, Skip Donnelly, Moore, Hill, Scarlett. An early misplaced header did give Sheffield United a chance to go through, which saw Brereton Diaz shoot over the crossbar. It then was followed up with an impressive save from Vicario to deny, again, Diaz, the opener for Sheffield United, as they pressed on early. But look, Spurs got an early goal, thankfully. A great finish from Deki from a tight angle. Van der Ven did really well in the build-up to win the ball back. The Spurs forward has now scored as many goals this season as Martin Odegaard, 8 in total for Deki. It's not been the campaign I think he would have wanted, but hopefully, like I say, he will be finishing on some form of a high. Before I come on to Deki in general, we'll be talking about him in his second goal. It is double figures for Sonny and assists for the third time in his last 5 seasons, of course, contributing for that goal. 17 goals, 10 assists for Heung-min Son. For him, he joins a list of players who have recorded 3 Premier League seasons worth of 10 Premier League goals, 10 Premier League assists of Cantona, Rooney, Lampard, Drogba, Salah, Son. A really elite list to join. The game was stopped temporarily due to some concern over somebody in the stands, but the game did resume. Nearly a second goal for Spurs. Kulusevski was denied a good save from West Foderingham, who turns into prime Manuel Neuer whenever he seems to play us, even though he conceded 104 goals this season. We saw Lolo, Bentancur, unlucky not to score with an effort, hitting the post. Sonny and denied by Foderingham, and Romero volleying a volley wide a few seconds later. In terms of, like I say, that first half, Maddison saw a shot from outside the box, hit the post, and Son's effort well saved. We saw Porro having an effort that was arrowing for the bottom corner, but again, following with a big hand to it. But you know what? Look, we'll bring the Deki chat in now because I'm conscious of time. Start off your bingo cards. Macca, we'll go to you. Deki, how important was that for you, Macca, that he ended the season on a bit of a flourish? Because I think, look, it's not been a Deki we've been used to over the last couple of months, and we have wondered where that player has gone. Is it worth, again, Lee, I know people have a go at me for saying this, he is still a very, very young player, adapting to a new system, new manager. Still enough to come from Deki for you? Is that one you wouldn't be looking to move on this summer?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why people have a go at you for saying that. It's true, mate, to be fair. Look, I mean, he scored 8 goals this year and got 3 assists. I think that we'd probably want a bit bigger return from him. I think when he burst onto the scene, when we signed him on the last day of the transfer window, classic back in the under Conte, I think a lot of some of the fan base on social media wrote him off within 20 minutes of his debut, didn't they? He could run in treacle or whatever. And then he went on to, I can't remember, Pat's probably got him in front of him, but I think he went on to get eight assists, I think, that season, which was incredible, absolutely incredible. We haven't, if we're honest, seen that level from him. He got an injury last year and there was a load. I mean, look, anybody that had an amazing season last season, you know, bar Harry Kane, obviously, he scored 30 bloody plus goals. You know, in that shit show that was going on, you know, we had 3 different managers. If you remember, we had 3 different managers. We had the Conte the rah, and it all kicked off last year, man. It was an absolute mess. And then this year, and fair dues, Pat said this earlier. Deki has played. He must be the most used player in different positions in this team. And anybody you talk to at any level of sport knows you need some sort of consistency. Right? We've been talking about that as a whole, like as a club as a whole, whatever. He's popped up as a left winger, as a right winger, as a false nine, as a deep line 8, as a number 10. Do you know what I mean? Like he's played a lot of different positions, and I'm not sure he wants to play as a right winger, and I'm also not sure he's a perfect right winger for the system that we play. Right, so there's a couple of issues there to be sorted out. Is he a talented footballer? Yes, 100%. Do I want to sell him? No. But I do think, and it might not be him, but I do think Ange is going to sell somebody that none of us are thinking we should sell. I don't know what it is. I don't know anything. I'm getting lots of nodding heads here. You agree with me. I don't know what it is, and it could be Deki. That could be Deki. It could be Bentancur, right? Could be Maddison. Could be bloody anyone. It might not be anyone. But
yeah, no, totally agree. Totally agree.
There,
yeah,
might be Levy.
Yeah. Well, that'd be nice, but I don't think that's going to happen. But I mean, Deki, look,
bring Mike Ashley in.
Like he played. What Pat said earlier, right? He played really well against Arsenal in the 3-2. I know we lost 3-2, but he played really well in the Arsenal game, and then he got his chance to start against Chelsea, and he was crap. Like, he was literally shocking. And then he gets dropped out of the team. Then he comes back in the team. You think, oh, yeah, he's done well as a sub. Then he starts and he was shit. So, but today he started as a kind of a false nine. And actually, I think he's done really well. And he took his goals. And he actually could have had a hat-trick because he should have scored. He should have scored again before he scored his second. He should have thrown a goal when he should have scored.
Yeah. It's interesting points. I mean, look, we'll come to you, Pat. T Bicycle there says, would the panel keep Kulu this summer or sell? He just doesn't seem to fit Ange Ball as the winger. And before I ask Pat to ask that question, I just will bring in, if I can, Ange's comments on Kulusevski. He said, look, I thought Deki was good. He worked awfully hard this year without a lot of reward in the front third. We thought planning through the middle would help us with the mobility and ability to run in behind. He did well. He always works hard, but it's a sort of final third where we need him to get rewards, and he got them in relation to this game. So he did well. And, again, we have got Bergvall joining in the summer. That, again, will hope to his own benefit.
Just on Ange's comments there, again, I don't want to be naughty here, but it doesn't sound that convincing, does it? Like, he just said, oh, yeah, he did okay, he did well. Like, he didn't go, he was really good today, he scored 2 goals. He just kind of went, yeah, he was all right.
Similar, I thought, to the Bentancur comments that he made, actually.
Yeah, although he gave him a big hug today, and that was clear for everybody. He'd done that for the fans and the cameras, right? He gave a big kiss on the neck.
On that, I totally agree with you, Lee.
But you can counterbalance that, though, Rick, with like players being too comfortable in their positions a couple of seasons ago, couldn't you? Last couple of seasons, they got no one up behind them. They're comfortable. They're not performing because they haven't got somebody that wants to take their place. So if a manager's telling you, saying, oh, yeah, he's going nowhere, he's undroppable, he's this, he's that, a player might rest on his laurels a little bit. However, if a manager's just sort of going, yeah, he's all right, then I'll put something in a player's head to think to themselves, does he fancy me? I better keep my socks pulled up here. Yeah. So, there's a balance to this to be had, isn't there? You don't know what he's telling these people in private either, do you? So, there's a bit of a balance. I like players with a little bit of fire under them, to be honest. You put fire to the feet of players, you tend to find that they start pulling some trees up.
That's absolutely fair. I mean, Pat, is Deki for you one of those players that at the moment you can't quite work out if he'll be or not next season, or do you think he's firmly in the camp of Ange wanting to keep him? What do you reckon?
I would like him to stay. I really like him. I think he's a talented boy. I think he's got a lot about him. I feel he's had a really poor season by his standards. 8 goals, 3 assists. That's what, 11 GA. I'm looking at it now. So it is 11 GA. And that is in, where is he? In 36 games. So it's not great. He started most of the games. I do feel for him, like I said earlier, and like Lee even stated, he's played in a lot of different positions. That is tough, especially with the way we play as well. Your winger needs to work hard. He needs to create. And sometimes with Kulusevski playing on the wrong side, it's very hard for him to create when he's not the quickest. He's skillful. He can beat a man. But we did see him. It seemed like he lost a lot of confidence in himself, because when he first came on the scene, he used to take his man on, and he kind of shied away from that in the latter stages of this season. I would like to keep him, but like Crackers rightly said, it doesn't mean he has to start every game. But we can't get rid of everyone, otherwise we don't have the talent and the squad depth that we're all craving and screaming for. We do need a talented squad. But if other players come in and that pushes him down the pecking order and he has to fight for his spot, I don't mind that at all. I think Kulusevski needs to realise and understand his best position and then really work to cement that, because he's come out and said he would like to play as a number 10. Obviously, we've got Maddison there. Is he a winger? Probably not. But I do think he's a talented guy. I mean, two goals today, could have had a hat-trick. And when he's on form, he's on form. Like in the Arsenal game, he was brilliant. But then, like Lee said again, rightfully so, in the Chelsea game, he was absolutely awful. That Chelsea game was such a weird one, because it was a London derby. We had just lost against Arsenal. We fought well in the second half. Could have got something out of it. I thought they'd be bang up for it against a Chelsea team that looked like they were depleted of options. And we just were so toothless and spineless. And as much as Ange may have got it wrong, the players didn't show any fight on the actual pitch. And Kulusevski was part of that bunch. So, I don't know, man. I do think... yeah, I mean, he has to have a better season next season, but I wouldn't want to sell him, going back to your point. I want to keep him, but I still want to see a lot of talent come in, you know, Eze, I rightfully so. I'm not sure on Conor Gallagher, personally. I'm not sure if I like that link.
He's an upgrade though, Pat, isn't he, on Højbjerg, in terms of what he can do? You'd argue in terms of what Ange wants in a player?
Possibly, but I'd really want to see us go out and get quality players now. We seem to always be sniffing around essentially clubs that are in a bit of financial difficulties, or a player that seems to be on his way out and is winding down his contract. Why don't we show some ambition and get the players that we really know will, you know?
I think he really likes him. I think Ange really likes him. I don't think this is going to leave him.
Only from what I've heard he's wanted in the last two windows since he's been at the club. He's really wanted him.
Yeah, so I don't think he's just sniffing around a cheapy situation. And again, do you know what? I liken Gallagher, different positions, so bear with me, but I liken Gallagher a little bit to, who's the Everton guy that went to Newcastle?
Anthony Gordon.
Anthony Gordon. There's a lot of people, when we were linked with him heavily, Paratici wanted him big time, and we were going after him. And people were like, what are we doing? Anthony Gordon, blah, blah, blah. But he's brilliant. Like, to be fair, isn't he? He's done well. So I don't know whether there's a Gallagher there situation as well. But I mean, I don't think Gallagher's going to be cheap either. Let's be fair about it. I think he's still going to knock in 40, 45 mil. Mind you, that's probably cheap now, is it?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think like we say here at the moment, I think there will be a player of a surprise that maybe, again, you've touched upon, Lee. Many are going to think, didn't see that coming. But look, we'll see what happens with Kulusevski. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Look, it was a bright cameo. He certainly needed it, obviously, on the back of that, obviously, City game. And look, he doubled his tally in the 65th minute with a low strike from 6 yards out. It was a good performance. It's one that hopefully will stick with him and see what it does come about. We'll talk about Pedro Porro quickly. Like I say, another rocket of a finish. We'll come to you, Cracks. So this guy doesn't do tap-ins. He's now scored 2 goals in his last 3 games. But overall, he had a really decent game from an attacking perspective, of course. Gave Foningham no chance with the shot. He says on Instagram, we finished the season on a high. Thank you, as always, Spurs fans. Happy to be part of this special club. I think many saw it by the way he kissed the badge. I mean, look, I think he does get what it means to play at this football club, Cracks. And what have you made of Porro this season? Because I think many on the back of last season had some concern with relation to can he get his defensive game right. I think he has been, in my opinion, one of our most improved players of the season, Cracks.
Very, very much. And, you know, it's not just coming into a different style of football from what he was used to. He's settling into a new culture, a new country. So all of these things do feed in to how a player is, you know, and what they do. There's so many elements to it off the pitch, away from the 90 minutes. Probably, picking up a bit of language, picking up a bit of culture, getting settled in a house. If he's married with kids, getting kids into school and then being happy. And he's a quality player. Doesn't he ping a ball, Rick? Man alive, he can ping a ball, can't he? I mean, today that goal, keeper's got absolutely nowhere near it. Absolutely nowhere near it whatsoever. Hasn't even put a hand out for it. So I think that just shows you, like, you know, the levels that he can hit a ball at. And yeah, he really has settled, and he's finding his groove within the team, like within the club, within the culture, and being in England. So yeah, he's a definite keeper, and probably, as you say, one of the most improved players in the squad at the moment. So do I keep waxing lyrical about Pedro Porro here whilst Ricky sorts his Wi-Fi out? Because do I go through all of that again in Spanish as well for our Spanish viewers? Do I tell you?
Very tuned into the show.
Chicos, and Pedro Porro is un crack. That's all you need to know if you're Spanish. So no, he's a very, very decent player. It's funny how he's come in and really kicked on versus like Brian Hill, that just hasn't seemed to have just not found his groove at all. As Brian Hill is, I mean, a lot of Spanish people that I know and where I live, when, as I said before, Brian Hill was like, wow, you've got yourself some talented player there. But I just don't think he's actually got the physicality or anything of the Premier League at all. It's really strange because he reminds me a lot of Modric in his stature and build and everything. And Modric was like, you just couldn't knock him off the ball, could you? Yet Brian Hill, he just gets battered about everywhere. So it's strange how some players come in and just seem to settle into cultures, into like the way the Premier League is, and some just, it's just not for them, is it?
A personality thing as well. Like, just going back to Porro quickly, I think his personality, he's always had that fire. You just said about having fire lit under you, like with Kulusevski. Like, it feels like Porro's always had that fire. Do you know what I mean? Under him, mate. What's he got, Pat? Now 3 goals and 7 assists, I think, in the Premier League. And actually, he went through that period, didn't he, earlier in the season, where he was just literally pinging assists all the time. I mean, he got a bit higher than Kieran Trippier at a point, and then he went through it again. He went through a little bit of a dip. And that's indicative. You know, the whole team has done that at some point this year, haven't they? They've kind of gone through dips and stuff, and that's maybe getting that level of consistency. But 3 goals and 7 assists, pretty good return, isn't it, for Pedro Porro?
Yeah, that's a good return for a fullback. And like you said, there was a moment where he was on fire and he was bagging so many assists, and then he's kind of fallen off for a bit. And over the last couple of weeks, he's definitely looked like himself and come good again. So again, he's a player that is improved massively, but there's still room for improvement. And someone of his stature, someone of his ilk, should be getting at least 10 assists a season. The goals, cool, they're a bonus, but as a fullback with a lot of the ball, you know, we average like 62% possession. We expect our fullbacks to be creating chances, and hopefully with a striker that comes in, you'll see someone like a Porro and a Yodoji. They get more assists next year.
I think you know, you and Cracks have both said about that number 9 situation, and I just think, you know, I read out a stat earlier that 65 big chances missed.
Crazy.
Spurs this season.
Insane.
That's a lot of chances, right? If you work that out, what's that? 3 a game? I mean, I don't know if my maths is any good there, but it's like 2.5 a game or 3 a game, and that's a lot. And you know, and that could be that Porro is creating this big chance, but no one's putting in the back of the net.
Yeah, definitely.
So actually, if you start, you know, even if you improve on that by 10-15% on them big chances, all of a sudden you know, the assists and goals are obviously going to start going up as well, and then that tally starts to go up. So yeah, I mean, I think Porro's had a good season.
Yeah, guys, when you look at obviously the other players, I mean, I think Sonny's been one. I think at the moment there's been some real confliction around his most recent performances, and I think when you look at obviously his overall performance today, you know, his first touch has been deemed as often loose, but he played a huge part in regards to a couple of the goals, with regards to the game itself. And I think he's been a huge part of how obviously Spurs have tried to build in the last 3-4 years. I mean, just very quickly on this, just around the table, because again, of course, we've got quite a bit we need to quickly fill in before the end of the show. There's no concerns over Son at the moment. I mean, I'll come to you, Pat. Son, very quickly for you. Still the right man to captain the club and where we are at the moment?
Yeah, it's a strange one because for me, I think Son's such a good player. Still, as crazy as it sounds, with all the goals and assists, still underrated in my opinion. I see Spurs fans slagging him off. I see rivals slagging him off. But then I also see rival fans that understand how good he is, and obviously Spurs fans that love and appreciate him. I'm someone that loves and appreciates him. I think he's such a good player. He's not had his best season, admittedly so, but the guy's still got 17 goals and 10 assists. That's 27 goal contributions in 35 games. Bear in mind, he was at the Asia Cup as well, so he's absolutely knackered. The guy's always fit, always available, and he's created so many big chances this season. Again, if he had a finisher, he would have easily had about 15 assists comfortably. Yeah, he's missed a few chances. Thankfully, he missed that one against Man City. I mean, only God will know, and only, you know, down the line if he missed it on purpose, if he shot it directly at the keeper. Because Son one-on-one is so clinical, but thankfully he didn't take that chance. And you know what's funny? Obviously, with all of the discourse and everything going on, I will come out and say I was one of the fans that didn't want us to win that game. But as soon as I got in the stadium and the ball and we kicked off and how well we were playing, I wanted us to win. It was really weird because my heart was telling me that, yeah, my head was telling me, nah, you know, we don't want to win. We don't want to hand Arsenal anything. But it's the way we were playing, and when you're in, you can't bet against your team when they're playing. And when Son missed, I was gutted. It was so weird because I knew that us losing was better for, you know, the fact that Arsenal won't win the league. But when I was in the moment and in the game, I did want us to win. It's strange. It's a horrible situation, and I hope and pray we never go through that again because it was awful. It's so conflicting, and I understand both sides of it. I understand Ange's point. I understand the fans' point, and I understand. I mean, I've seen so much fighting in group chats this week on social media. It was a really draining week for all Spurs fans. Thankfully, it's over now. Thankfully, City won the league. We'll argue about, I mean, I don't think we lost Champions League on Tuesday. I think Champions League was lost when we lost so many games before that, as we all know. So I think it's lazy, the narrative and the spin from the media and journalists saying, oh, if you would have beat City, you would have got Champions League. How about the 4 games we lost on the spin? How about the game to Fulham? How about this game, that game? When we lost to Aston Villa at home, we had a better team. West Ham, there's so many times we could have had the points that we should have, and we would have secured 4th. As weird as it sounds, and as you know, I was on here bigging up Villa, saying how good they are. But when I take a step back now, I'm like, you know what? They're not as good as I thought they were. Because look how many points we've dropped, and we only finished 3 behind them. Mental. But anyway, that's for another story.
So me and Pat are offering this grovelling apology to Lee that they're not bastard.
You know what? I say, you know,
the preview.
Respect to Lee, because when I said how good Villa were, and Lee and I were going at it, and Lee was like, you know what? If you take a look at the stats and take a look at this, and to be fair, he's right, because now when you look at it, Villa on the day, they're a good team, but they're not as consistent as everyone made them out to be, and they have lost a lot of games. And but I do feel obviously it's unlucky for us because they're a lot further into their cycle than we are. Yeah. And next season will be interesting. It really will. With them in the Champions League, it's going to take a lot out of them.
Yeah. I am just conscious of time. I'm going to go to Cracks and on this very, very quickly. So yes and no on this. Cracks, Heung-min Son as captain. Dejan Kulusevski has just come out and said he's very important. He's the captain and a great example for us all. We follow him. We can try and help him as much as we can. Cracks, any doubts for you about Sonny as captain?
It doesn't strike me as captain material, but then I'm a bit old school where I see a Stevie Perryman as a captain or a Graham Roberts as a captain, and the game's moved on a lot from now. So, you know, for me, a captain would be somebody that comes round at half time or in a game, gets you by the scruff of the neck and tells you to shape up or ship out. Now, we live in a bit more of a touchy-feely time and a world, and some might be somebody that goes round the players and goes, everything okay, how's your mental health, how's everything at home. So he might well be captain material for today's type of footballer, but I always, sorry, I'm an old dinosaur. I just always like to see my captain to be a little bit of a fierce warrior, if you like, and he's in his way. See, I'm more of a Romero captain that's going to go around and boot people up the arse, and whereas Sonny's a bit more arm round the shoulder. on a wider issue, Rick, Son's, how old is he now? Lee's probably the man that's across all this sort of thing. 30, 31. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, you've got to start looking at that as well with his age. I mean, he's in fine nick. He's an absolute specimen. You can just see how much he works on his physical being. But time waits for no man, does it? He's 30 years old, and I just worry that the club might look at him and just say to themselves, Crackosaurus Rex. Yeah, correct. Yeah, I am an old dinosaur. Thank you, Spurs, for life.
That's the great dinosaur analogy I've ever
It's the
seen.
little arms, isn't it? It's the tiny little arms and the squawking that does it. I don't know. I sometimes, the old cynic in me says, like, will the club maybe try and bear influence that Son has to play because of the amount of bums on seats and the revenue that he brings into the club, which I get, it's important, but not to the detriment of the team. At the moment, no issues at all. He's a great player. He's a fine player. He hasn't had the greatest of seasons, but going forward, if age catches up and he's dropping off, will there be that pressure to keep him going and keep him playing because of the other commercial benefits there is to him being out there? So I'd like to see a stress test almost of Ange going into the board and saying, Son's not for me. He doesn't suit me. Would you sell him? And I'd be interested to see what the answer would be to that, because ultimately the club should turn around and go, if he doesn't suit your plans, then we sell. But I think if you put it out there as a poll, would Spurs sell Son if that's what Ange wanted? I think that would make an interesting debate and vote. But we're an hour and 40 minutes in already, Rick. So that's one not for today. But this season, yeah, he's done well. Not sure about being a captain.
Okay, Lee, very quickly. I know again you're a big Sonny fan. Yes. Thank you.
One word answer. Yes.
Yes to keep. Yes to keep.
Right.
Yes. Thank you very much. Look, in terms of, like I say, again, coming towards the end of the game itself, Pierre Højbjerg was on for Pat Matasar. Look, Sarr himself had a key intervention during the game, not on before half time. Sarr finishing the season on Instagram said, happy to finish the season with a win. Home and away, your support has been amazing. I think that's probably the last time I've seen Pierre Højbjerg in a Spurs shirt. I think this now gives us an opportunity to wish him all the very, very best of wherever he goes. I think with Højbjerg, there's been no doubt there's been effort, application, desire throughout his Spurs career. He's just come around a manager that ultimately wants something a bit different. So, look, again, we wish Højbjerg all the best. He's expected to move on. These two probably as well, Emerson and Royale and Oliver Skip on in place of Pedro Porro, Rodrigo Bentancur. We wish those guys all the best if they are to move on. Bentancur really incredibly unlucky not to score in the first half. Was at the base of everything good about Spurs' midfield to begin with. Another decent display.
He was excellent. I thought he was excellent just quickly, because there was a lot of controversy and whatever, but I don't know if he got lost. But when he came off, Ange gave him a big kiss, almost a love button.
Lee, you expect him to be in next season, Bentancur?
Well, I don't know. He could be one of them other surprises. It's either him or Basuma. I think it's well documented, certainly amongst our circles that we all walk in, that we need a number 6. That we want a number 6. I think most Spurs fans will say that we need a number 6. And it's whether or not we keep a Rodrigo Bentancur around as an 8 with a Sarr. If we're getting a Gallagher in, you know what I mean. This is where all these things start fitting in. One thing I really do love about Ange, talking about scoring goals, is that he's always said from day one, and he's never wavered, that he still thinks, even though we're shipping goals in left, right, and centre, he still thinks we need a load of firepower up front. He's never said that he's ever been.
No, never happy with the front third. Never happy with the front third.
So it wouldn't surprise me if we start piling, 8s, 10s, and 9s up front, left wings, right wingers, and all that sort of stuff. So something we'll have to give there, won't it, mate?
It will indeed. It will indeed. Look, in terms of coming to the close of that game, we saw a red card for Sheffield United overturned by VAR after Brooks was dismissed after appearing to make contact with Son's foot. Johnson really should have made it 4-0 following a lovely cross from Son to pick him out. Brennan Johnson, a decent shift for him. Another assist in terms of the season. It means that he finishes the season on 10 assists. That's more than Saka, Odegaard, Fernandes, Pedro Neto, Jeremy Doku, Phil Foden, Kai Havertz, Alexander-Arnold, and Bernardo Silva. So look, Johnson, a decent betting in year for him. I think many of us have said.
What a waste of money.
Well, I think many have said that we've
Rick, he's a superstar. Johnson,
really
telling you, that boy is a superstar. He's a kid. It's his first season in the Premier League, and he's done what he's done this season. That boy is a superstar.
5 goals plus the 10 assists. So all that you rolled off all them assists that he's been better. He got 5 goals as well. But he's been
not bad,
he's been good, mate. He's been good. And it'd be even better. I totally agree with Crackers.
Yeah, Dane Scarlett, Mikey Moore coming on place as Son and James Maddison. Look, I'll be honest, we've not had that debate right bang in the middle of the 20-minute part of this show. These guys would have had more time given to them. I'm not blaming anyone for that at all.
No, but James, big up to Mikey Moore, though. I mean, just quick big up to Mikey Moore, because that is absolutely amazing. He's our youngest ever first teamer in the Premier League.
16, right?
Yes, it's just the boy is real. I mean, John from Lily White Rose is his area, as you know, one of our own. But he is the real deal by all accounts, and hopefully, without putting a load of pressure on these kids coming through. Big up to the Spurs women as well. That they just quickly they finished, I think, 6th in the Premier League, didn't they? Oh, Crackers is old enough to shoot. They are older than Mikey Moore.
I know what's coming here. Go on, Crackers.
They are my brogues. Guess what? Older than Mikey Moore. There you go. I've got shoes older than Mikey Moore. My Oxblood brogues older than Mikey Moore, and he's playing up top for Spurs. Thank you.
Love that. Love that. Look, again, great to see Mikey Moore. Back-to-back games for him. James Maddison, look, again, decent game for Madders, of course, an assist for him. Could have a delightful ball that culminated in front of him denying his teammate. And look, ultimately got that assist, as we spoke about. Look, Maddison said after the game, it was important for us to finish strong. Assist, clean sheet, 3 points away from home. Thanks again for our unbelievable away support. We'll be back and better next year, Coys. And yeah, in terms of the game, guys, I don't want to drag that on any longer. Those were the main takeaways. And as we know, look, we have got an additional game to come. Spurs are in Oz, which we'll be covering live on Last Word on Spurs for you on Wednesday, of course. I believe I'm right in saying Lee and Pat are back with me for that. Cracks is going to be on annual leave. It's a busy summer. We're trying to move the troops around as much as we can here, given the nature of how long these shows are going for now, which you can tell it's nuts, absolutely nuts. Ange said on the actual squad going from Australia, the plan is everybody to travel on the cell. So he's been training, so we'll just have to wait and see how it pulls up. Ange has actually asked what he'll do on the flight. He said, look, I'll read a bit, I'll watch a couple of series I've downloaded. I'm not going to say what they are, mate. That's just about it. It's a long flight. I don't know if you've been to us, but it's brutal. So you've got to fill that time in. And if I can just very, very quickly run off the team that Spurs are taking to us, because there's been one notable exception in there. I think, again, has made some fans a little bit concerned. Obviously, I think we'll read the team out here. I understand Romero is one that is missing from that squad going to Oz. So that has raised some concern in relation to why Romero is missing. Look, we've got no update on there, but in terms of the squad Spurs are taking, George Abbott, Brandon Austin, Rodrigo Bentancur, Leo Black, Alfie Devine, Jamie Donnelly, Radu Dragashin, Brian Hill, Tyrese Hall, Brennan Johnson, Dejan Kulusevski, Rio Kirimetan, Emerson Royale, James Maddison, Ashley Phillips, Pedro Porro, Diego Santiago, Pat Matassar, Dane Scarlett, Oliver Skip, Hun Min Son, Mickey van der Ven, Guillermo Vicario, Alfie Whiteman, plenty of course, senior players going there, pretty much everybody, but Romero not. There is speculation that Romero isn't going because he just recently had a child, which is, again, prominent at the moment, but I don't want to speculate to concern the fan base and worry them. Obviously, the exception as well is there's no Mikey Moore in that. And just Leah's just put up here on the show as we go live. Romero sent messages on Instagram saying he loves the team and he'll see us all soon. So everybody relax, calm down. nothing to stress about. But interestingly, there is no PM there.
Rick, he might need an op. His missus might need an op. His mum might be ill. His dad might be ill. He might be expecting another child. He might be going through a divorce. He might be this. He might be that. Do you know, it's like people have lives. These footballers do have lives, you know, and things happen. And Australia just might be something that he can't do at the moment because somebody doesn't go on a tour, which, like, you know, look, it's fantastic. The fans in Australia get to see the team, but it's not first team stuff. And even if it is first team stuff, if players are going through things, sometimes they have to miss games, don't they? But because you've missed a tour or a game, doesn't mean you're off. It doesn't mean you're off. It's just like, I just don't get that. It's always chicken licking, the sky's falling in, isn't it?
Absolutely. Look, again, we won't sit here and cast aspersions. That was the, obviously, squad Spurs are taking, and we'll see how that pans out. And again, great opportunity for, I know a lot of Australians that listen and watch this show to see our boys out there and listen, having an opportunity to see him in the flesh. So great for them. And was asked, will you toast the season with the players? Said, look, there's still a game to go. I'm not the toasting type, but I've said to them what I've said to you. I've said to the dressing room as a manager, I couldn't ask for more from the players. They've given absolutely the maximum. And yeah, we've fallen short in certain areas. But like I said, we finished 8th last year. We've been top 5 all year through ups and downs. I do have to acknowledge not just the players, but the staff. The effort they've put into that will certainly come as a time of reflection for when we're down in Oz, just to sign off the year in the proper way. He was finally asked what he's learned from the year. He said, look, I've learned nothing really, mate. Pretty much as I expected. Thank you. That's how he closed his presser. Interestingly there. So we're going to close it on this from the boys. Very interestingly. Question for you all guys. Number one, will Ange be here this time next season? And that's not a negative. I just want an honest opinion from you all because of the nature of Tottenham. And what do you think we're going to be getting next season? A lovely two-parter to end this on. I'm going to go to Pat, go to Cracks, and we'll end on Lee. Pat, let's come to you first, mate. Can I just say again, thank you so much for finding the time, mate, for the show like you've done all season. We know we've got a lot to come still throughout the summer and what this does bring. So, again, mate, I want to say a massive, massive thank you for your contribution throughout the season. Tireless, committed. Yeah, if we had the commitment we've got on this show to what we've got at Spurs, we'd be absolutely winning everything. So, mate, thank you. Thoughts on those couple of questions, Patty?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. It's always a pleasure. Obviously, it's always a pleasure. We've been labelled the A team. So, you know, thank you to the guys who put that out there. And thank you to everyone that tunes in. Without the viewers and the listeners, obviously the show is nothing. So it's brilliant. And I love coming on it. So that's that. Back to your question. Yeah, Ange will be here next season. I don't see why not. We can't keep chopping and changing. We have to build off of something. And like I said, Ange has got something about him. It's time to back the manager and believe in him. And see how far we can take us. And what was the second part? Where will we finish next year? Oh, that's a tough one, man. Depending who we bring in the summer, really and truly. Because if we bring in the right components, obviously we're going to be in Europe as well, so that is tough. I would say 4th or 5th. I'd say about that, but it's going to be tough because Chelsea definitely improved on the back end of the season. Villa was there or thereabouts. Newcastle again improved on the last back end of the season. But I think 4th or 5th would be where I'd want us to finish. Obviously top 4, but it depends on what happens with the players that we bring in.
Patty, thank you for that as always. We'll come to you, Cracks, next. Double parter there for you. And just to be clear, just be clear on the question. Maybe I didn't make it clear. Where will Ange be here at the end of next season? Not where we'll start. Will he be here at the end of next season? Pat, you want to come out very quickly, yes or no, on that last bit?
End of next season. Yeah. Why wouldn't he be? Yeah.
It's Tottenham Hotspur. I have to ask that question. we'll go to Crackers. We're going to end on Macca. Cracks on that point.
No, he'll be gone. Gary Megson in by Christmas. You heard it here first.
And we're going to finish bottom off. What was that?
Well, me, Lee, and Jason are doing the Welcome Megson show at like midnight when Ange goes and Megson comes in. So no, I would expect him to be here. To be honest, it's too much chop and change, Rick. Too much. We've made our decision. Stick with him. And where we finish next season, wow. Well, over to you, Daniel Levy, Enoch, and the board. because you've got to throw a few quid at this. We are in Europa next season. We know that comes with its challenges. It's going to be Thursday, Sunday, Thursday, Sunday, Thursday, Sunday. You know, Ange talks about happy days. You might as well just sing Thursday, Sunday, happy days. Thursday, Sunday, happy days. Thursday, Sunday, happy days. It's just Thursday, Sunday, isn't it? But you see teams after they play on a Thursday night, and on the Sunday it's like wallop. You just drop off the edge of the cliff. So you've got to have a bit of a squad about you to be in Europe. You know, we've seen Chelsea seem to be picking up. Man, you ain't going to stand still forever. But then to caveat that, Villa are in Europe, and I'll make Lee right. I don't think they've got the quality, so I think they're going to struggle a little bit more next season if they don't strengthen. And I think Liverpool might struggle a little bit as well, because I've never seen a team that actually does well after one of these dynasty managers go. We saw it with Fergie, we saw it with Wenger, now Klopp's going. So I think they may have a little bit of a wobble. So for the two that seemed that may sort of come back in Man U and Chelsea next season, you might see a drop off of Villa and Liverpool. So buy right, buy well, stick with him, get the players that he wants, and I think next season we may be there or thereabouts where we are this season. Look, Tottenham, just give one of the cups a go. Just don't put out a team of stiffs for this and that. Give one of them a go. Just give one of them a go. Honestly, an FA Cup or a League Cup for this club would absolutely send it off the scale. We're desperate for one.
Anything.
Yeah, I know a lot of it on social media is 15 years old with their trousers round their ankles going, oh, but you ain't never won a trophy, have you? But I tend to ignore that. But we do need a trophy. We need something just to get behind and give us a bit of a lift and give us a bit of belief. A day at Wembley and lifting a trophy, it doesn't half help. It really does infuse you and lift you as a club.
It does. Cracks, I want to say, mate, as always, thank you so much for all your contribution, not only this season, but for the last 3-4, mate. You are a stalwart, a massive part of this, mate. So again, can't thank you enough, mate, and sending you loads of love. You know I love you.
Thank you. Right back at you.
You diamond.
Get to room, boys. Get to bloody room. What's the matter with you soppy git?
Back and let's close it. Go on, back and let's close it with you. Those kind of questions. Go on, my man.
You've got all formal on me throughout the show, Rick, calling me Lee all
I didn't even think about it. Do you know what? I didn't think about it.
I know. Clearly. With your questions, will he be here? Yeah, 100%. He has to be here. He will be here. I think there's some big things coming. This is my belief. This is my positive. This is generally what I believe. I can't be anything other than myself, same as you. That's how I am. So I think there's some big things coming. I think there's an opportunity to you got projected league pots there. There's an opportunity for us. I think Pat said earlier, we're in pot one, as you can see there anyway. We're in pot one with the Europa League. So there is an opportunity for us to hopefully go deep in that competition. I think it will help us a little bit more than this season. We played 41 games this season, team. 41 games, team. One in the League Cup, 2 in the FA Cup, and 38 in the Premier League. It's terrible. 41 games. So I think that's going to really help, isn't it? Like having more games to play. I do think that.
Well, it depends on our own mental health, is it? Is more games that going to be a good or bad thing?
I think the issue is like this is one for another for one of the shows that we do in the summer when we're all together well, I won't reveal what I was about to say, but whatever. But the point being is when we're together and we're doing the shows in the summer, we maybe go deep into a little bit of that. Who you can play and who should play, because Jason says this all the time. Now we're back in Europe. We go, right, let's go after the Europa League. We can win it. But what happens if you're playing Chelsea on the Sunday? Then you got Europa League on the Thursday, and then you got Arsenal on the following fixture. What do you do? And that's the reality, isn't it? You got 2 Premier League, and it becomes all of that stuff. So I think, look, he will be here next season. I think that our defence, the players that we've got in our defensive five, including the goalkeeper, and the way they've performed this year versus how they can perform next year is massively exciting to me. And I think if we can go and get a couple of signings, and I said this in my tweet, look it up if you want to look on Twitter. I said it over coffee this morning. I was just having a little bit of a write, and I thought, I'll just write a little bit of a kind of a blog thing. And I talks about the fact that it is completely unacceptable under this ownership and under this board to go that long without a trophy, and to echo what the boy said. And I also talked about the fact that what we needed in this club is somebody to come in, shake it up, get us playing on the front foot, attacking. We all wanted this last season. It's exactly what we've got. Yeah, we've shipped some goals, and yes, we've had some frustrating results, 100%. You know, the Liverpool, the Arsenal result, Newcastle, both Wolves results, Chelsea, just 6 spring to mind, right? Let's probably look at the Fulham game. But at the end of the day, we are a different football club moving forward. We have started the process again, the project, whatever you want to call it, and we are now on the rise. And that can only be a good thing. It can only be a good thing. As Cracker said earlier, Pat, Rick, you said it as well. Pat said it. You cannot keep changing managers. It's the merry-go-round. Like that statistic that you read out earlier that I tweeted about, it's absolutely ridiculous. 6 managers since the Champions League final. Yep. 6. Yep. It's pathetic. And, you're never going to get stability. I do want to also pick up a point that Cracker said. I love the word used, the dynasty of when a dynasty manager leaves. I totally agree. I think that's one of the reasons why Xabi Alonso, who's done brilliantly, ducked the Liverpool job this time round. Because I think following Klopp, like you've said, following Wenger, following Fergie, it's almost like a poison chalice. So there's a lot of stuff that's going. Is Villa going to do well? Is Newcastle are not even in Europe as it stands? They're not even in Europe at the moment. They finished 7th, so that might get Europa Conference League, mightn't it? If Manchester United don't win the FA Cup, and we're going to see how they go. With all that money's coming in, they've gone backwards, haven't they? You could look at, and then it's PSR. So look, I just think I want for next season. I want to be able to kick on. I think we need to sort that defence out, stop conceding goals, stupid goals, silly goals, and just rip teams open more. I'm surprised that we haven't ripped teams open more this year, and I think that's the front 3 bit, or that forward play. And like Pat said earlier, I thought parts of that Man City game were very encouraging back to what we saw in the first 10 games of the season. Ironically, when we were singing Happy Days, and I used to love that. I used to wake up every morning to that tune. I love it, mate. So yeah, I mean, I think he'd definitely be here. Where will we finish? Well, I don't know if you give me enough credit. I think I was patting myself on the back earlier.
No, we did. You said 5th. We said 5th.
Said we finished 5th this season. We did. I'm going to be bold. Fuck it. Guess who I am. I think I'm going top 3. I think we can go 3. I think we can get in the top 3. I think we can finish 3rd.
Listen, again, you don't know what's happening with United. Of course, they may obviously let Ten Hag go. You've got the situation with Arne Slot coming.
I'm worried about Chelsea now, though. I'm worried about Chelsea. Crackers bang on. Honestly, I'm worried. Mate,
I'm not ending the show. I'm not ending the show on being worried about bloody Chelsea after we spent half hour doing about Arsenal. Even I went to make one point on Arsenal, and it's been a 45-minute subject about them, and I'm sick of it. Listen, I want to say a massive thank you. Yeah. Listen, we've got lots to come in the summer, as you guys will know. Look, we don't ever stop. That's the nature of who we are, right? We've got lots to come for you guys. And again, I will say again, the amount of comments we've had flying through for the show, the love for it, for these guys. Again, can't thank you enough. Look, the show isn't possible without these wonderful people, without you wonderful audience, without you wonderful listeners that make the show what it is. And I think I just want to close it on this, that Spurs have gained more points than last season. They have scored more goals than last season. They have conceded less than last season. They finished higher than last season. We are back in Europe. So whether you like it or not, whether you feel or don't feel, the reality is there has been progress made. And I think we all need now, going into the summer, to get behind the manager and now hopefully look forward to what's to come. And to John here, very kindly sent us in a super chat. John, thanks for another great season of shows, lads. Excellent content as always. And again, excellent viewing and listening from all you wonderful people out there. We're going to see you guys, hopefully, for those that want to join us, on Sunday the 2nd of June for our Last Word on Spurs end of season special. Come and join us for fun, games and laughter with the guys that you see now.
And
more of your
Ricky's
favourite
put
guests.
£1,000 behind the bar. £1,000 behind the bar. He's not going on drink. He's just asking them to look after it. But there's £1,000 behind the bar.
I'm more concerned about 4,000 watching this show live. That'll go quick if it is gone. I tell you, that 1,000's gone quick. I'm already eating into the savings. I tell you, poor kids will go out without food for a week, or a month, or a year, or 10 years, or a decade. Guys, I want to say a massive thank you. I'm going to close it. Lee, my man, thank you so much. Epic season, another one, eh? In the bag. Oh,
done and dusted, boy, and we go again. We never stop. Don't know whether that lot do, but we don't. So we never stop. We go again.
Love it. Laka, thank you so much. Patty, thank you so much, my man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been a challenging season, but there's definitely positive signs there. Everyone stay positive. I don't want to see no more fighting. Like I said, that game on Tuesday was a weird one-off scenario. Hopefully we never have to go through that again. And yeah, let's look forward to what the summer brings and hopefully a good and solid 24-25.
Amen. And Cracks, thank you so much, mate, as always. Love having you back on. And like I say, lots to come in the summer. Have fun.
Well, not like they're not character building Tottenham, is it? Following Tottenham, very, very character building. So the kids moan at me, the boys moan, Dad, why'd you make me support this lot? It's character building. They give you a little bit of resilience, a little bit of backbone, you know. It's good for you. So, but when the good times come, they feel even better and they taste even sweeter, don't they? So, yeah. But whatever happens with Tottenham, Rick, always coming on here, meeting with all the boys and girls that do the show and the people that bump into you in the street and in Tesco's and coming along to the Q&A nights, etc. Like, love it as well. And that's a brilliant community. So whether you're in the Premier League or like, you know, the Isthmian League, that's something that counts for something. It's brilliant.
It does. Cracks, thank you as always. Guys, from us all here, look, keep safe, keep well, and we won't be going anywhere. But listen, hopefully you've enjoyed the season and much more to come. We're back with you on Wednesday for more to come. Of course, Spurs are in Oz. We'll be covering that from myself, from Lee, from Pat, from Cracks. We've been the last word on Spurs, but we're all here in the Crackosaurus Rex. We'll see you very, very soon.